Welcome, deep divers. Today we're embarking on a journey into a worldview that profoundly shaped a people and honestly offers timeless wisdom for all of us, our guide. The powerful words of the Lakota holy man, Nicholas Black Elk, who once declared, "You have noticed that everything an Indian does is in a circle, and that is because the power of the world always works in circles."
That quote just immediately draws you in, doesn't it? It sets the stage for something really, really deep.
It really does. We're diving deep into Black Elk Speaks, which is this incredible account of his life and his sacred visions, recorded very carefully by John G. Neihart.
Right.
And this isn't, just a historical document listing events. It feels much more like a spiritual odyssey. It's a direct window into a way of seeing the world that feels, well, ancient, but also incredibly relevant today.
Indeed. And our mission, really, with this deep dive is to try and unpack that rich tapestry of Plains indigenous spirituality. We want to explore these core ideas, like the sacred hoop.
Which represents unity, right?
Yeah.
Interconnectedness.
Exactly. The unity and interconnectedness of absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And also the Great Spirit, often known as Wakantanka, this omnipresent force behind all creation.
Okay.
But we also can't shy away from the history. We have to confront the heart-wrenching, tragic history of a people whose deep spiritual connection to the land, to each other, was just nearly annihilated.
Yeah.
So we'll be pulling directly from Black Elk's own words, looking for those vital nuggets of wisdom, those insights, and then, crucially, seeing how they resonate beyond his specific experience, how they connect to universal human experiences, spirituality, loss, and ultimately resilience.
That resilience piece feels so important.
It cuts across cultures, across time. It really speaks to us now.
Okay, so let's start right where Black Elk starts us. The world of circles. That opening statement, everything an Indian does is in a circle.
It's clearly more than just poetry, isn't it? It sounds like a fundamental principle.
Oh, absolutely. It's cosmic, really. For the Lakota, this wasn't just a preference for round shapes. It's a direct reflection of what Black Elk calls the power of the world. The power of the world.
Yes, the fundamental force that governs everything.
Yeah.
And if you just look around, at the natural world, it is constantly working in circles, in cycles.
Like the obvious things, the sun, the moon.
Exactly. Sun rises and sets, the moon waxes and wanes, the seasons turn spring, summer, autumn, winter, and back again. These aren't random. They're predictable, repeating movements. And Lakota life was deeply, consciously aligned with these rhythms. Their lives were, in a way, an echo of the universe's own pattern.
And that idea feels so different from how we often think about time in the West. We tend to see it as a line, right? Straightforward, past to future, beginning to end.
Full linear progression. Yeah.
But this circular view implies something totally different about history, destiny, our place in nature. It's less about this single forward march.
Much less. It's more about continuous transformation, renewal, recurrence. It suggests that what looks like an ending is often just a turning point, a return within a much larger cycle.
So history isn't just over and done with.
Not at all. In this view, history is an ongoing narrative. Lessons, patterns, they reemerge. The past informs the present. It can even repeat. Destiny isn't some fixed point you arrive at.
It's more like a journey within the cycles.
Precisely. It's an unfolding. It reminds me a bit of that river metaphor in Siddhartha, where the water turns into vapor, rises, becomes rain, falls, becomes a stream, a river again, flowing on.
Right, that constant transformation.
Yes, but the Lakota view really emphasizes the circularity of that flow. It's about returning to the origin, re-engaging with those fundamental patterns, even within the change. It's the same water, just in different forms, always cycling back, always connected.
So this isn't just abstract philosophy for them. It's lived. It's practical. We see it in their structures, like the teepees.
Yes. Black Elk describes a teepee in his vision almost like it's alive, built and roofed with cloud, swaying in the wind. It's not just shelter. It's a living structure reflecting the cosmos.
And their camps were circular, too. He saw that circular village in the other world in his vision.
Exactly. 11 teepees, the blooming tree at the center. It's a powerful physical symbol, the human community mirroring the cosmic order.
And this circularity goes right down to how they measured time, you said.
Absolutely. It permeates everything. Their timekeeping was rooted in natural rhythms. Black Elk mentions, the moon lives 28 days, and this is our month.
So watching the moon wasn't just practical calendar keeping.
No, it was more than that. It was an active, conscious alignment with nature's patterns. It fosters this profound sense of harmony, of belonging. You're reminded constantly that you're part of this greater living world, not separate from it.
Living with the world, not just on it.
Precisely.
And does this extend to the biggest cycle? Life, death, renewal?
Oh, definitely. It's not just about one individual life starting and stopping. It's
No.
the continuous cycle of generations, of ecosystems, the very spirit of existence itself flowing on.
Like Siddhartha's river again, carrying everything along.
It's that universal image of endless transformation, yeah. But always within that cyclical framework, always returning somehow.
Which brings us, I think, logically to the sacred hoop and Wakantanka. Tell us about the hoop.
The sacred hoop is, well, it's a central, all-encompassing symbol for the Lakota. It represents unity, balance, and this profound interconnectedness of all beings and the entire universe.
All beings, like people, animals.
Everything. People, animals, trees, rocks, rivers, stars. Every single part is essential to the whole. It forms this unbroken circle of existence where everything relies on everything else.
So if one part is broken,
The whole hoop is diminished. The balance is lost. It speaks to this incredibly deep ecological awareness, a real sense of collective responsibility for maintaining that balance.
okay, so the hoop is the interconnected whole. What about Wakantanka? Is that like a personified god?
That's a key distinction. Wakantanka is usually translated as the Great Mystery or the Great Spirit. It's generally understood less as a personified being and more as the ultimate divine force.
The power behind the circles.
Exactly. The creative, sustaining power that permeates all of creation and drives those circular patterns we've been talking about. It's the power of the world, Black Elk mentioned.
And you see hints of it in his vision.
Definitely. When he describes hearing the sun singing as it arose, that speaks directly to this living divine presence. For them, it wasn't just a metaphor. It's a felt reality. The whole world is sacred, imbued with Wakantanka.
It's a truly holistic view. And, you know, it resonates with ideas from other traditions, too. I'm thinking of Teilhard de Chardin, who wrote something like, man can't see himself unrelated to mankind, or mankind unrelated to life, or life unrelated to the universe.
Right, that same sense of inescapable interconnectedness. It seems to be a universal human intuition, this need to feel part of a larger whole.
But Black Elk's vision seems to take it further. It's not just an idea, it's a lived reality where maintaining balance is the spiritual path.
Precisely, living in accordance with that grand design.
Okay, let's shift now to the heart of the book, Black Elk's Great Vision. This wasn't just any dream. This was the event that shaped his life, right? Set him on his path.
Absolutely pivotal. It happened
Yeah.
when he was just 9 years old, but it was monumental, profound, transcendent even. He describes it with such vividness you feel the power of it.
How does he describe the beginning?
He talks about the flaming rainbow door, growing dimmer, and hearing voices crying out, "Eagle wing stretches is coming forth, behold him." It wasn't just seeing things, it was hearing, feeling, being totally immersed, crossing a threshold into another reality.
Wow. At 9 years old?
Yeah. The veil between the physical and spiritual just lifted completely. He was stepping into a different dimension, really.
And he went alone. I mean, the description of him going through that door, the sun leaped up and looked upon me, and I was going forth alone.
Yes, that solitude is striking. It emphasizes the deeply personal nature of this encounter with the divine. A spiritual ascent, undertaken completely alone at that critical moment. No human guide. Just him and the cosmos, essentially.
And the cosmos spoke back through nature itself. I heard the sun singing as it arose.
Beautiful, isn't it? And it's more than just beautiful imagery. It underlines that Lakota reverence for nature as sacred, as a living, conscious entity that communicates spiritual truth. The divine isn't out there somewhere. It is the world,
Right here, in the sunrise, the trees.
everywhere, making the spiritual incredibly accessible, woven into daily life.
This kind of intense experience, it sounds a lot like what, other traditions call peak experiences or mystical states, like those moments of profound insight Wilbur talks about, or the sense of cosmic unity Paulin explores.
It definitely fits that mold of a transformative spiritual event. But what's maybe unique or emphasized in Black Elk's account is that ecological integration. It's not just an internal aha. The divine is the singing sun, the speaking clouds.
So the unity isn't just in consciousness, it's in the environment itself.
Exactly. It suggests that maybe the path to that cosmic connection starts with reverence for nature, not just introspection.
That's a powerful thought. And you mentioned these encounters can be paradoxical, almost too much.
Yes, there's a hint of that. It reminds me a bit of the mystics, like St. John of the Cross talking about the dark night of the soul. He suggested that sometimes divine light is so clear, so manifest, it actually blinds or darkens our human perception initially.
Too bright to comprehend fully.
Exactly. Not because the light is absent, but because it's overwhelming, too present for our ordinary minds to grasp.
Aldous Huxley touched on that too, didn't he? Something about the unapproachable light being too bright, but also being the medium through which we see everything else.
Yes, that captures it perfectly. It's blindingly intense, yet it illuminates everything. That paradoxical nature seems very present in Black Elk's experience.
And at the core of this overwhelming vision, there was symbolism, a mission. He saw that village.
Yes, the circular village, represented by 11 teepees with the blooming tree in the center. That's not random imagery. It's a powerful symbol of a future of health, spiritual flourishing, renewal for his people.
With the Wanekia figure.
The Messiah figure, standing by the tree, arms outstretched. A central figure of hope, salvation, guidance.
And he wasn't just shown this vision, he was given tools, right? The sacred sticks.
Yes, one white and one red, a gift from the Messiah. These weren't just objects. They embodied the power to heal, to renew the sacred hoop, spiritual tools for his people.
Which immediately makes you think of that hero's journey archetype.
Absolutely. Joseph Campbell's idea of the secondary hero to revitalize the tradition. Someone who goes on a journey, gets a message or a treasure, and brings it back to make the old ways relevant again for a new, difficult time.
Black Elk, even as a boy, was tasked with that.
He was. His visions became that perennial source, like Thoreau talked about, a spiritual wellspring for his people to draw on when everything else was being taken away. Not just remembering the past, but revitalizing it. An immense responsibility.
But then the reality. We move from this incredible spiritual vision, this hope, to the tragic history, the clash with the Wasichus, the white people. It brought so much suffering.
Unimaginable suffering. And it started with that betrayal over the land, the broken treaties.
Black Elk puts it so plainly, it's heartbreaking. Wherever we went, the soldiers came to kill us. It was all our own country. They were chasing us now because we remembered and they forgot.
Yeah, it hits hard, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The broken trust, the systematic theft of land that was promised as long as grass should grow and water flow. Only 8 years later, that promise meant nothing. And for the Lakota, the land wasn't just property.
It was sacred. Their mother.
Their provider, the embodiment of their spirituality, taking it, desecrating it. That was a deep spiritual wound, not just a political one.
And the trigger was gold. The yellow metal in the Black Hills.
Which the Lakota knew about but considered not good for anything. But for the Wasichus, because Custer had spread the word, it was irresistible.
It's such a stark clash of values, spiritual reverence versus material greed.
A collision of worldviews, really, with devastating results for the Lakota.
And it caused problems within the Lakota community, too.
Yes, that adds another layer of tragedy. The pressure led to internal strife. Some were called hangs around the fort, maybe seen as collaborators, maybe just trying to survive. It shows how the external pressure fractured the community itself, damaging the hoop from within.
The conflict then escalates into just brutal warfare. Black Elk's descriptions of battles.
They're visceral. Crowds of warriors roaring, yelling, "Hoka hey!" Soldiers coming, an old man shouting, "Boys, take courage! Would you see these little children taken away from me like dogs?"
You feel the desperation, the primal need to protect family, protect their way of life against impossible odds.
It wasn't just soldiers fighting soldiers.
No, it was communities fighting for their very existence. And it wasn't just conventional war. It aimed to annihilate their way of life.
Through environmental destruction, too.
Yes. Black Elk says most of the land was black from the fire and the bison had gone away. The systematic destruction of the buffalo, that was strategic.
To break their spirit and their sustenance. It shattered their economy, their food source, and that crucial sacred connection to the animal that was so central to their identity. The land, once teeming with life, became empty and scorched.
And the suffering that followed. The hunger, the cold.
Immense. He describes it starkly. It snowed much, game was hard to find, ponies died and we ate them. And the dwindling numbers, there had been thousands of us together that summer, but there were not 2,000 now. It's just unimaginable hardship. A physical and spiritual crisis rolled into one. The hoop was being torn apart.
Which brings us to Wounded Knee, a horrific climax.
A terrible, terrible event. Black Elk's eyewitness account is just harrowing. What we saw was terrible. Dead and wounded women and children and little babies were scattered all along. The soldiers had followed and murdered them in there.
It wasn't a battle.
It was a massacre. Targeted, indiscriminate slaughter of largely unarmed people trying to flee.
The details he gives. Sometimes they were in heaps, sometimes bunches. killed and torn to pieces where the wagon guns hit them. I saw a little baby trying to suck its mother, but she was bloody and dead. It's almost unbearable.
To read, let alone to have witnessed. For him, having received that vision of healing, to see this utter destruction, it must have been a profound spiritual trauma. Wounded Knee wasn't just a physical massacre. It was a deep wound on the soul of the Lakota people, echoing for generations.
And that leads us to think about the impact of that trauma, that collective wound. It goes so far beyond the physical.
Absolutely. The psychological, the spiritual toll of that sustained oppression, it's immense. You think about what James Baldwin wrote, that people can't live without a sense of their own worth. They'll do anything to regain it. And that the most dangerous creation is someone with nothing left to lose.
That feels chillingly relevant here. The aim was seemingly to strip them of that worth.
Systematically.
Yeah.
And we know from work like Bessel van der Kolk's that trauma makes just living in the present incredibly difficult for survivors.
Always spanning for threats, reliving the past.
Exactly. Imagine that on a collective scale. An entire people struggling with hypervigilance, intrusive memories, emotional numbing just to cope. Van der Kolk talks about loss of purpose and numbing. Apply that to a whole culture.
A deep spiritual disorientation, a sense of being utterly broken.
Yes, because the violation was total. The destruction of the land, the breaking of the hoop, the slaughter of the buffalo. It wasn't just economic or political. It was a profound spiritual injury. It hit the very core of their identity, their worldview, based on sacred interconnection.
It's like that metaphor you mentioned from Catherine of Siena.
Right, the thick black cloth over the crystal in the sunshine. The light is still there, but it can't get through. Or the soul rooted in that pool of pitch-black, evil-smelling water, producing only misery.
It captures that sense of spiritual darkness, of despair.
For the Lakota, it must have felt like that black cloth had been thrown over their whole world, obscuring the light of Wakantanka, rooting them in suffering, making those old sources of spiritual joy seem almost impossible to reach.
And yet, despite all of that devastation, that darkness, there's this incredible thread of spiritual resistance, of resilience running through the story. The ghost dance, for example.
Yes, which was so tragically misunderstood by the authorities at the time.
They saw it as a war dance.
But it was fundamentally a spiritual movement, a profound, desperate cry for renewal, an attempt to restore the world through divine intervention, not primarily through violence.
Black Elk was involved?
Deeply. He wore the ghost dance shirt, saw visions connected to it, his vision of the Wanekia, the Messiah figure, offering him those sacred sticks. It was part of this movement. It was an act of immense faith, seeking spiritual tools to heal his people amidst the suffering.
A hope for restoration even then.
A profound act of spiritual courage, really.
And again, it fits that Campbell idea, the hero trying to revitalize the tradition.
Exactly. Making the ancient wisdom relevant, a source of life, a perennial source, as Thoreau might say, when everything else seems lost. Black Elk was that living bridge.
And his own persistence, just continuing to bear witness to his vision even after Wounded Knee, even when the ghost dance didn't bring the immediate renewal hoped for. That's remarkable resilience.
It really is. He didn't give up on the vision. He ensured it survived through telling it, eventually leading to Neihart's book. It shows this profound commitment to his calling, to his people's spiritual future, that goes way beyond just physical survival.
It's just an inner strength, doesn't it? Maybe like that idea from Conversations with God about choosing awareness over guilt and fear.
That's an interesting parallel. Cultivating awareness of their spiritual truth, even amidst the horror, perhaps offered a different kind of strength, a way to process the trauma without being paralyzed by it. Understanding what happened, holding on to the vision, rather than being consumed by despair.
And community must have been crucial in that, rebuilding connections after everything was torn apart.
Absolutely critical. Parker Palmer talks about the transformative power of communities being in the growth of relationships over time, needing each other to reflect, to process. For the Lakota, those communal bonds, shared stories, rituals, however disrupted, became essential for healing, for preserving identity, for finding strength together, leaning on each other to try and mend the hoop.
Finding that kinship again, like the pilgrim feeling kinship with everything, seeing the divine seal on all creation.
Yes, that resonates. It's that universal yearning for interconnectedness, mirroring the sacred hoop itself. Recognizing that kinship, even after it's been shattered, becomes a powerful source of healing.
So Black Elk's story, while so specific and historical, really brings us to these universal themes, doesn't it? Suffering, the search for vision and purpose, the journey towards authentic living.
Definitely. And the suffering is just undeniable. It confronts you. Like the Dhammapada states is essentially that all conditioned existence involves suffering. Recognizing that isn't meant to be depressing, but may be liberating.
How so?
Well, the text suggests that seeing this truth allows detachment from misery, leading towards purity. Black Elk's story forces us to confront that suffering head-on on an individual and massive collective scale.
And it feels like that dark night of the soul idea applies strongly here too. That prolonged grief, the spiritual brokenness.
Yes, St. John of the Cross describing that soul filled with griefs. Suffering without the consolation of hope or light. A time when faith is tested to its absolute limit, when the divine feels absent. Seeing his vision seemingly crushed must have felt like a collective dark night for Black Elk and his people.
But even in that darkness, there's the quest for vision, for purpose. You mentioned the law of Dharma, that we're here to fulfill a purpose.
Right, and Black Elk's vision, received so young, gave him that undeniable purpose. Heal his people, restore the hoop. That became his reason to endure, even when everything seemed lost.
It was his anchor. Like John Kabat-Zinn says, you need a why for any spiritual practice, any commitment.
His vision was that profound why. The blueprint he held onto, the compass guiding his life work and service, not for himself.
And his journey also seems to involve that spiritual stripping down, becoming almost childlike again, like Siddhartha realizing he knew nothing, had nothing, was starting over.
Yes, that profound humility and vulnerability that often precedes deep transformation. Shedding old identities, old attachments, becoming that empty vessel ready for a divine purpose. Black Elk became a conduit for his vision.
Which brings us back to that interconnectedness, Siddhartha's river again, carrying all the voices, joy and suffering, good and bad.
A beautiful image for that universal flow, isn't it?
Yeah.
All lives, all experiences flowing together and forming each other, just like the sacred hoop, holding everything.
And underpinning it all is that sense of humility, recognizing a divine source, like in Theologia Germanica, that true life, knowledge, power belong to the true good, not the creature itself.
That resonates strongly with Black Elk's role. He wasn't seeking personal glory. He was a vessel for a vision meant for the healing of his nation.
Which ties into that idea of shifting from external power to authentic power, as Gary Zukov puts it.
Exactly. Authentic power rooted in our deepest being, in service, incapable of making victims. It seeks to heal, unite, elevate, not conquer. That's the spirit of the sacred hoop. And it's a timeless message Black Elk embodies.
Wow, what an incredible deep dive this has been. We've journeyed through Black Elk's profound vision, explored the Lakota philosophy of the sacred hoop, faced the tragic history,
And yet found that enduring spirit of resistance and resilience, rooted in spiritual connection.
His story really is a testament to the power of vision, the strength found in spiritual connection, even when facing unimaginable loss.
And it shows us so clearly how identity, community, reality itself are tied to our spiritual worldview, our connection to the land. Black Elk's vision endures as a reminder of the strength and traditional wisdom, especially when we face our own modern challenges.
It's a beacon, really. So here's a final thought for you, our listeners. Black Elk spoke of a world where everything an Indian does is in a circle, because the power of the world always works in circles. If that's true, that's the fundamental nature of existence, what does that imply for us in our often linear-focused lives? When we face deep historical wounds, ecological crises, or just our own personal struggles, what wisdom might we find if we acknowledge these greater cycles? What if we sought to truly reestablish our place within that interconnected hoop instead of acting as if we stand outside or above it?
A powerful question to sit with.
Thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive. We hope this conversation has given you something profound to reflect on and maybe a new way of seeing the circles all around us.